Ah, hello everybody. I uh I got a story to tell. This is a story of how I got onto Social Security disability before the age of 40. Now, you could say this is like a force the vote or Medicare for all now type video, but realistically, that's all branding. I'm not interested in branding anything. I just want to tell you my story. So, I'll start here. Back in 2009, I was still doing carpentry. And things got rough in 2009. I ended up having to leave a company, started working for another company. And while I was working for this company, it was just working for a friend. We didn't do the workman's comp thing. So there was no workman's comp. First big mistake. Never work without disability insurance or for an employer that doesn't have workman's comp. It's my friend. I love him. Still do to this day. It is what it is. I got injured picking up an empty bucket. It was empty. It had nothing in it. It was just the position that I was in. When I got up, something popped in my back. From years of strain, being a carpenter, I don't know. By 2010, the person I was working for, their brother had died from pancreatic cancer. So he decided that he wasn't going to do the home improvement business anymore. So he dissolved his company. I had kept trying to work for him, but I had turned into more of a gopher. I would supervise over other people doing their jobs more than actually doing the physical labor. I would still try to do what I could. At the point where he decided to dissolve the company, I decided I was going to look elsewhere for different employment. So I ended up going to California. And what I was doing in California was a midlife crisis. I decided I was going to become a pot farmer. So I got a house out there, a friend, and there was another property where I grew at. Being a first timer, I bit off more than I could chew. And around this time, my back started getting worse. And it got to the point where I couldn't walk anymore while I was trying to take care of what could be my future if I had been successful growing. That didn't turn out the way I thought it would. This is full disclosure. So everything dissolved from there. I ended up having to move back in with my mom. I had my wife. It was my wife, my kids, and myself. And at some point, my mom, being the type of person that she is, that has some issues, such as schizophrenia, because she's suffered trauma through her life that caused her to have this affliction. She could get a little crazy sometimes, and what ended up happening was me and my kids ended up out on the streets. this point, I had filed for Social Security. This was 2010. By the end of 2010, we had moved back to Missouri. We got a place. We were living there. 2011, find out that my case was lost. They sent it to the wrong state. Right before I had left California, I was supposed to have a hearing, but I had already booked my flight. The guy that was supposed to be my, I don't know what you would call it, representative with Social Security, the guy who, well, my caseworker, he was on vacation when they did my hearing. So, when my hearing finally came up, it was years later. It actually took years for another hearing to come up. Did the hearing, they did a partial settlement, because at this point I had been working, even if I had been in pain. A couple years more passed after the hearing, and I could no longer work. My neck had gone out. I had ruptured some discs in my neck, as to where at first I had ruptured discs in my lower back. At that point I had ruptured discs in my neck. We were on pretty good insurance at the time, and the doctor did some reliefs in my lower back and in my neck, did some pain shots, and we carried on, but I couldn't work anymore. And around this time, Social Security came through, and they said that my case was approved, and the lady called, interviewed me, asked what was going on with me. I said I wasn't working. She said, okay, well, you're not working, your case has been approved, we'll start doing monthly payments, and you'll get your settlement. Okay, so got my settlement, and interestingly, months passed, and the story was from Social Security, because they sent me a notice that I was getting kicked off. So kicked off of Social Security all of a sudden. And no one could really tell me why this was all happening. Months went by, and no matter how many people I spoke with, they said, well, you were employed. I was like, well, I wasn't employed at the time. But what really happened was they had given me a settlement, partially favorable one-time payment. But the lady who did the interview with me did everything wrong. And she made mistakes when she was documenting my case, which got me kicked off Social Security. So there was no way to appeal the decision that the judge had made because of the way that the judgment had been rendered. So I was off Social Security. We still had money from settlement. At that point, I had money from a family member that had passed away. And we had tens of thousands of dollars. And that was the only point in my life I've ever had that, and probably be the last time. But Nicole didn't have a job at that time. And everything really went sour. I started getting surgeries. At that point, I was on, it wasn't Medicare, it was Medicaid. So I got a surgery, and what I came to find out was that this surgery that they gave me was the bargain version. And I have x-rays of it, and when you look at the x-rays, it looks like someone just toenailed some screws into my spine and put a little piece of plastic on, because that's actually what it is. Through the years that passed, finally in, I believe it was 2017, I was back on Social Security. And things are the way they are now. I'm on Social Security disability. I cannot work. If I did work, I wouldn't be able to work more than a couple days a week, and I'd be in pain and down most of the time. I've had multiple spinal surgeries, several reliefs. I had a double fusion put into my lumbar to my sacrum, and I was told it's about a 50-50 chance of success. That's now gone down to failure rate of around 80%. So 80 out of 20 people have a failure on it, and the discs above the fusion began to degenerate because I have degenerative disc disease, and it's caused the stenosis in the spinal column to get worse above the fusion at the L3 and L2 level. So the pain is immense, it's intense, and they really can't do anything about it. After I had that surgery, I did have one successful surgery, and that's like $1 million surgery. I mean, that's what it would have costed, because at that point I was on Medicare, and the type of care that you get when you're on Medicare compared to Medicaid, it's not bargain version. When you're actually on Medicare, they don't really spare an expense. They go all out, and everything is kind of pre-approved. They can't argue with the doctor's decision as much. There's still some arguing that goes on, and you still end up being connected to another insurance to supplement it, because what Social Security disability pays is 80%, and I have to have something pick up the other 20%. That all flips around. If your spouse works for a corporation, then the corporation has to pick up the major part, and Social Security picks up everything that they don't. It gets very complex when you have that sort of thing going on, and someone at my age that has Social Security disability, it's been rough. Just the other day, apparently they were underpaying me, and suddenly they sent me $6,000. And it's nice to get the money, but you just don't know how frustrating it is, all the years that have gone by where I have had nothing. You know, I've been wearing the same shoes for a long time. I don't want for much. I just want to live my life and give my kids and wife the things that they need. And so that brings me to where I'm at now, I guess. Pain levels, 10 out of 10. I've been crying a lot just because the pain is just so bad. I mean, I have a high pain threshold. I've shot, being a carpenter, I've had injuries and stuff that were like nothing, like nails through the thumb. No big deal. I got a nail through the thumb one time and finished doing the job and then pulled it out. And it was the kind of nail that was ribbed for her pleasure, if you know what I mean. At this point, I've had several doctors look at my lower spine where everything is going on. There's tangling of the nerves. It's called a fibrosis. They call the conditions uh, arachnoiditis. Sounds like some kind of a spider thing. It's not even spelled like that, though. And now they put I'm on day 3 of a trial with a spinal stimulator. They put wires in my back and around the same level in the lumbar area where I had all the pain. So when they actually installed it, I had relief from the numbing agent that lasted into the night, and I actually slept, and it was just so nice to sleep for once peacefully, because I can go years without having a peaceful sleep, and a lot of people don't know what that's like. But more people know what it's like than you would think, because there's a lot of people suffering from a lot of pain. So day 3 of the trial, it's very interesting. They run the wires up to around the shoulder level to have it connect with the nerves, so that the lower area of my body, it gets a constant current of electricity that can help to distract from the pain. It's all about distraction. It's all about feeding the brain something else besides the pain signals. So that's what the spinal stimulator is supposed to do. So, I just really wanted to get this story out because I know that I'm not going to be up on YouTube that much longer, and I want people to know how long it took me and all of the things that I went through to get on Social Security. I mean, when all things are said and done, people made mistakes that messed with my life. The woman that approved me to get on monthly payments when I was just supposed to get a lump sum settlement, she set me back years. I couldn't appeal it after I had already been told what I was told. And when it came time to ask the question, why did this happen? High turnover. That person's gone. The people leave all the time. So no one's really held accountable for all the mistakes that Social Security makes when they're administering their fuck-ups. I just really wanted to get this story out because probably gonna get nuked on my next video, because I'm just gonna ask questions, and we all know at this point that if you ask questions, you're a troublemaker and you're breaking the law. You're an outlaw if you're asking questions. And I simply can't help but be that black sheep, as I've always been, that asks the questions and talks about the things that people don't want to talk about. And it can make you uncomfortable, but ultimately, you need to be made uncomfortable. America doesn't want to see those people that are so downtrodden that they can't leave their house. They don't want to see the ugly Americans like me. The broken smiles, the broken spirits and bones of the American populace. There's people out there that don't have insurance right now. I went through that. There's people that have the bad Medicaid that gives them subpar care, that causes their doctors to look at them like they're trash. I've been there. I know. I've gone through it all. I fought so hard to get on Social Security. It was like from 2009 to 2017. I mean, that's a long time. Several appeals every time before you go to court. If you don't go to court with a lawyer, you're going to lose. You just are. I promise you, if you're disabled and you're going through this, get a lawyer. It's worth it. Don't play around. They want you to pad the pockets of the people that play the game. So the lawyers I chose, their office is located in the same building as Social Security Administration. So, I mean, think and know that people out there are suffering a lot. Some of the questions that I'll be asking are going to get me in trouble because I ask a lot of questions. I refuse to bend or bow to the censorship that is all around us. I'll just end with a couple questions right now. What benefit did Trump supporters see in interrupting them contesting the Electoral College when that was what Trump wanted? What is it that causes so much vitriol from the left when you ask questions about the transparency of the election? Why is so many people being thrown into the same category for the actions of a mixed bag of nut jobs that raided the Capitol? Why isn't everyone talking about John Sullivan, who was on CNN that night, who has a CNN girlfriend who was kissing, smooching on at the scene, who did Uber commercials, who was a provocateur in several Black Lives Matter chapters throughout the country where he caused people to get arrested? How good do you think he is at this? And why doesn't anyone take it seriously when you bring these points to them? We're in trouble, America. And the trouble has been amped up to level 30 out of 10. Okay, so please, if you're going to talk about unity, then you need to show that you're interested in unity and that you're not only interested in talking about unity because you've had your way now. We don't like that. Who are we? We are the downtrodden Americans. We are the people who think for ourselves. We are the autonomous. We think outside the box. Everyone is a crayon mouth. Keep thinking outside the box and color outside the lines. Do what they don't want you to do. And if we all keep doing it, eventually they'll just have to block us all.